Toxicity. Was it you or them? That's today's topic on the Mars mindset. So, toxic is a word that gets thrown around a lot about relationships. Men say that women are toxic. Women say that men are toxic. So, I'm trying to figure out what exactly do people mean when they call each other toxic. That's number one, right? And number two, I would like to find out who's actually toxic. Does it take two people to be toxic together? I guess in theory it has to at least be both of y'all, because even if one person's toxic, the other person chooses to stay. So are you the toxic one, or are you the one who allows the toxicity? That's today's topic on the Mars mindset. So we'll get somebody in here, see who wants to have the conversation, and see how today goes. I don't really plan on being on here a long time today, but that's the same thing I said last Friday in the YouTube video. Ended up being 2 hours and about 15 minutes. So what do they say? Show me a man who has a plan, and I'll show you a man that God is laughing at. So let's get somebody in here and have a conversation. If you ever been in a toxic relationship, am I toxic to y'all? Y'all keep coming back. Maybe y'all like my toxicity. Got a wrinkled shirt on today. Told you I was sleep on the couch. Vicky,
Yeah.
how you feeling?
Woo. I'm feeling all right.
Be honest, I missed you this week. You haven't been on my show at all this week. And I said I haven't talked to Vicky at all this week. So
I
when I saw you
know.
pop on, I said I'm gonna let Vicky go up first. How you feeling?
I'm all right. I'm hanging in there.
Okay. Are you
I'm
feeling a little
hanging in.
toxic?
No. I don't feel a little toxic. Tired, maybe. Drained, maybe, but not toxic.
Oh, okay. Well, it's funny. I was gonna ask you this. Did you pray today?
Yes. I need to pray every day. And Jesus, I have to pray every day.
You know something, Vicky? I'm not much of a prayer person.
Hmm.
I'm more of a meditator. And I think it's
Okay.
because, and it's not that I don't have anything against prayer. Like I do pray, right? But it's just
Mm-hmm.
not one of my go-to things. And I think it's because, when you're a kid, you only really truly pray when your stomach's hurting real bad or when you really want something. It feels like you're begging.
Uh,
And I don't feel like begging God like he's a genie in a bottle. And I think I never
mm-hmm.
really got past that. So I just be like, I'll just meditate. It's all good. And whatever happens.
Mm. Yeah, more so I'm not asking for much. I'm thankful. I be thanking God just for being my strength and carry me through, because that's what I need. And I know it's nothing but the grace of him and the strength of him that does it. So I like to show my gratitude and my appreciation um, to the Lord, more so than me asking for a lot of material things. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. And now when I do pray, I just do I am prayers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I just be like, I am this, I am that. And I kind of set it up in a way so that it covers other people too. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that.
Right.
But other than that, I'm more of a meditator or just a sit in silence and listen to the birds and the rustling of the leaves and the breeze on my skin type of guy. But I mean, it's all an,
That's
an attempt to be in contact with the greater.
right. I mean, I do the same thing too at times. It's a balance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's get into the
Hmm.
topic. Have you ever been
Okay.
in a toxic relationship?
Yes. I have been in toxic relationships, and I have also been toxic myself. So, yes, all the way around.
Okay, well, um, I'm glad you answered that way. So can you tell me, please? Because I'm trying to find out if I've ever been toxic, right? I don't know
Hmm.
what it means. I never had someone tell me that I was toxic, but that doesn't mean that I'm not, right? Um,
Hmm.
when you were in your toxic relationship, what are some things that you did that were toxic?
Ooh. Um, the things that I did were being very inconsiderate. Selfish, very selfish. Um, and always wanting things to be seen in my perspective. And if they didn't see it in my perspective, they just didn't see it at all. Um, Manipulative. I was very manipulative. They were very, very manipulative to me. Just being, there was no peace. There was no peace. And, I was ignoring every sign possible, even my own self. Like I was a red flag for myself. And I was in denial. I was in denial about my own self.
Hmm. So, okay, you were in denial, so that means you didn't know that you were toxic. But I'm assuming in a toxic relationship, things aren't great. Like you can, it's obvious you can say, okay, there's no peace here. So I guess my next question would be, knowing that you're in a toxic relationship, and I believe the way you described it, the other person has some toxic traits too. What is it that makes
Yes.
someone stay in a toxic relationship?
Sometimes it's the ability to be familiarized with making they most people will correlate or say that they love this person in spite of, so they stay because they feel guilty, or they stay because they are familiar with this person. They're hoping for better, they're hoping for change, and a lot of times we are in relationships with potential instead of reality. So potentially we're like, there's a possibility of this person getting better. And what you do is you start picking out all of the good things in this person, and you try to outweigh all of the negative in hopes of it being better. And honestly, you're just digging yourself in a bigger ditch than anything, because it doesn't get better when both of you guys are in denial and it's toxic. You're both red flags. No one has really healed. So now you're dealing with past hurt from this person and past hurt in their relationships. And you're trying to prove yourself, and no one's able to look outside of themselves. And all they can see is you. You're going to be what does they say? Pretty much the punching bag or the dumping ground of all of their past issues, vice versa. So when you're doing that, you're not really thinking, I need to evacuate. I need to leave. What you're thinking is, oh, I so-called love this person so much. Maybe it's because of this. So you start making excuses. You try to talk yourself into loving them even more because you feel guilty. You don't want to leave this person high and dry. So you start feeling obligated. So a lot of times you don't leave until it gets bad, so bad enough that you yourself can't even think straight, or you start to just feel like, this is not what I want. But oftentimes you don't leave in the beginning because you're hoping for the best. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay. I have two questions, but I want to ask the main one.
Okay.
What are some ways in which, and I'm giving you solo time because you haven't been here all week,
I
because normally
appreciate it.
I brought somebody else in, but I want to make sure that Vicky has her time. Uh, I'm sorry, Sherry. Sherry.
Either way, you're still good, okay? Because I was laughing when you said that. Either way, you're still good because I still
Sherry.
like being called me.
Um,
Sherry.
what are some ways that you think men that are toxic in general? What are like some toxic masculine traits or actions that maybe women
Um,
don't do, but that more so guys would a guy would do? You understand what I'm saying?
yeah, more so like the getting angry instantly type of thing when you want to talk or when you want to have a conversation. It's like they jump stupid real quick, like they're in defense mode automatically when you're not coming at them that way. You're probably just trying to express to them like how you're feeling, not what how they make you feel, but how you're feeling in the moment, and they just don't want to talk at all. Like they're like, oh, no, not right now. I don't want to talk about it right now, or um, the the being manipulative in a way of, wanting you to see their point and gain an understanding of how men are, how men are, and what they won't tolerate, but still they won't see and try to come to, an even ground or a compromising moment where, okay, where can I meet you halfway, or where can we kind of gain an understanding so this could work, instead of you putting so much in and they're like, me. I'm only saying this. I'm not saying all men do this. I'm just saying of what I have experienced in my past. So I'm not going to put everybody in the same boat, but that's what I have dealt with. And that's the only
Okay.
way I can give advice.
Okay. Hello, Tamika Carthen. How are you today? Show. If you don't follow Sherry Victoria, follow her. And if you don't, but you would like to follow me, you're more than welcome to. I'm not going to stop you.
Yeah, follow.
So one of the things that I used to do that I don't do anymore was the silent treatment. Is the silent treatment toxic?
Okay, wait. It depends how you use the silent treatment, because I usually get silent too. I do the silent treatment too, because it's more so I would rather not talk about it. I would rather not say what I really want to say, because I know what I really want to say is really going to cause a big, huge disagreement, or,
We lost you for a second. I know you're coming back.
through. Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's all good. Go ahead.
You heard? I had a okay. Um, so the silent treatment for me, or like I will use a silent treatment sometimes because I don't want to discuss certain things, or I don't want to talk about it right now. So sometimes intentionally, if you use a silent treatment intentionally, I think that is toxic. When you're trying to purposely avoid something, like you just don't want to get down to it, or that person did something and you just intentionally just got quiet. I think when it's an intent of neglect or intent to actually hurt the other person, yes, that's toxic. But if you get silent in a point of where, let me just think about what is going on first before I respond, then I don't believe that's toxic. I think that's being strategic and careful about what you're saying so that you can process what's going on, so that you can actually say how you really feel. But there's an intent. It's a big difference, I think.
Uh, I think I've been toxic. I'm talking Chernobyl, baby. I won't talk to you for 2 weeks and don't care and have no intent on talking about it at all. And you can be as
Mhm.
mad as you keep on talk. You know what I'm saying? I have the right to remain silent. It will not be used against me in the court of this relationship. And you can throw me in the hole. You can throw me in the hole. Batman was here in the Dark Knight. Obviously, bro. And if I don't care if I was the one who did something wrong.
And you know what? Yeah, you're right. That was toxic. Because I've done that before too. You know what I'm saying? That's how I knew. Like, dang, like, I mean, I would literally get ghost. Like, I would literally go ghost and like not speak to you all day long, knowing good and well I'm a texter, and then like I won't say nothing, or I'll just do like a one letter, like oh, or two letters. Okay, I'll be very short. I'll be very short intentionally. If I'm upset or mad about something, I don't want to discuss nothing, but I want you to know that I'm not happy about something. Yeah, it'll be short, real short.
Yeah. I can be short too. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten a lot better just at communication and emotional intelligence. So maybe everybody has a little bit of toxicity, and it's just a matter of how deep it goes or how badly I guess it's brought about. You know,
Man, yeah, I think everybody has. Yeah, you're right. Everybody has a level of toxic.
so
Ooh,
so I ask you this, and then we'll bring somebody else and get somebody else a chance to talk to. Um, in what ways were you manipulative?
mm. Oh man, it was so many ways. Like I would not like some. I would see something like I would see an interaction between the opposite sex with the person I was with, and I'd be like, I don't like that. Mm-mm. you're gonna have to do something. Like I'm not happy about the situation. So I would be like, do hypotheticals a lot.
With the person or in your mind?
No, I would do a hypothetical with the guy I was with. I'd be like, well, hypothetically speaking, like if I were to do something like this, like how would you feel? So he wouldn't think that I was actually coming at him about a particular situation. And so when he get finished answering, I'd be like, well, that that situation that just happened, that's how I feel.
Oh, you dirty dog. You a dirty dog. Hold on. You need to tell me this is a dirty game, yo.
You're talking to someone that went to school for civil and criminal procedures, okay? Like I learned I was in mock trial, like I've learned. So let me just tell you, there is a way. I'm not gonna talk about my personal life being grown up, but there's a way to get things and have people to see themselves without really pointing the finger. And I had to learn that because every single time I noticed something, I would bring it up and they would just completely shut down. Like they're not talking at all. Like, all right, and I'm like, we didn't discuss nothing. And then I just started realizing, you know what? I have to allow them to get to a place of where we're just talking. And then once you tell me what you mean, then I'll be like, you know what? That's exactly how I feel. Do you see my point? And they be like, dang.
So I just had a thought pop into my mind, right? Because I've noticed too. I've never been in a relationship with a man, so I can only have this experience with women. And I don't want to say women because I haven't been with all, but relationships that I've been in, I've had women, instead of just saying, "Hey, when you did this, it annoyed me," they'll ask a bunch of questions, and it feels like, but I don't typically catch on until I'm already started answering questions, and then about question 7, I realize, like, am I in a hole? Like, I done dug myself a hole here, and then I get hit with the boom,
the bomb.
I didn't realize I was answering these questions. I didn't, right, Julie, I didn't know I was in the interrogation room, right?
Yeah.
So I actually prefer if, say, my wife would have just be like, this bothers me, right? Because at least we can address that which bothers you. I can apologize, validate, give you my perspective. But it's like the more questions that you ask, and I don't even know that we got smoke, right? I'm like, I feel like that's like unfair. Like you playing a game of Battleship and you blowing up my ships and I don't even know. And it just doesn't feel fair to me. So that said, what would your advice be to someone who has an issue or is suspicious of something and wants to bring it up to their significant other? How should someone do that?
So for me now, because the way that my life has been set up so great in God, that the Lord will either give me a dream, I will have a vision, or something that I'm laying before him. I would pray about it first. And for me, I would pray about it in a way like, is this really worth a conversation? Because, sometimes it's better for peace than to be right. And when you know that you really don't need a full blown out explanation if it's really not that serious. But if you want to have the conversation and that person is probably not in the right mind frame at that time, I used to get offended when, they were like, oh, I got to take a walk. I don't want to talk about this right now. I want to take a walk. And I'd be like, no, we're going to talk about this now. I want to talk about this now. And that was a part of me that I had to really learn how I will deal with something. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's how they're going to deal with it. So I also had to compromise what I wanted and actually meet them halfway and be like, okay, you know what? We have to come to a agreement where I'm not pointing blame. So anytime you want to know something, I will always say, you said it before, but take it out of the context of you blaming them or you're pointing the blame, because immediately, everyone's going to defend themselves. You're going to try to defend yourself. No matter if you're in the wrong or not, you're going to try to defend yourself. Give them time to think about it. Give them time to actually, calm down or whatever the case may be. Because when we're upset, we're angry, we say some things that we really don't mean. And sometimes we don't even hear the full conversation because we're just in our mind, like, what I'm going to say. Come calm, come correct, relax, peaceful. If you yourself, the one that has to ask the question, and you're like upset, get yourself to a place where you're at peace and you're not so irate, and then you can start thinking clearly, and then you can actually propose whatever question. But for me, more so than anything now, if something really truly bothers me, then I'm going to have to give it time and really trust God. And because I really truly believe what is done in the dark comes to the light anyway. That's pretty much what's been happening all my life, to where like I really don't have to worry about it too much. Like, let's say, I'll just say this and we can, move on from this. But I was getting cheated on. And in my mind, I'm like, if I tell him, like, ask him, like, you cheating, you dealing with this person, and he's going to automatically say, no, I'm not. he's going to say, no, I'm not. I literally had a person that was actually in a situation, and the phone rang and video and everything was on, and that person was saying it was not them. And I was just like, okay, because I already got the answer.
Vicky, you still there? Oh, Vicky buffering. We'll let her come back. Hello, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Just fine. What's your name?
Evelyn.
Hi, Evelyn. I'm Chels.
I've seen like a few of your lives, and one of my friends, I met her in AC like a while ago, and I saw her like in the live, and that's what brought me in like a couple Fridays ago. I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad. Just hold on one second, because Vicky's trying to get back in. Hold on. Vicky's trying to get back in, so let me get Vicky back in before we continue on. Vicky, I accepted it. I'm trying to get it to work. I don't know what's going.
And she was preaching straight facts too.
You good, Vicky?
I don't know what happened.
All right, cool. So, do you want to finish your point, or you want to move on to Evelyn?
Yeah, we can move on to Evelyn. Point blank is that, that you pretty much will get the answer that you want. Sometimes it's not necessary for you to actually interrogate when you know for sure. But I think I'm buffering again.
Okay, Vicky, are you gonna be be with us for a minute, right?
Yeah, I'm just gonna get in a better area because I realized that my phone is doing that weird thing again. So
Okay.
just give me a little bit.
Okay, I'm gonna use your mind for a second as a storage space for me, and I want you to remember gaslighting. Can you remember gaslighting for me? Okay, cool. Evelyn,
Yes.
have you ever been in a toxic relationship?
Yes, many times.
Okay.
Many times.
All right. So,
gotta be transparent, right?
let's cut to the chase. What toxicities did you bring to all of those relationships?
Okay, I'm the type of person, like, if somebody wants to talk about something and they'll be like, oh, I want to go for a walk, like how what she was saying, I was like, no, we're going to talk about this, because what we not finna do is put me on pause and then we never resume the conversation.
Okay, so let quick thing. That's something my wife had to come to grips with, because I walk away, right? But in fairness, I was also the type of person who would walk away and then come back and never bring it up again. And it didn't matter. And it didn't matter, to be honest. It didn't matter whether she was the one who was in the wrong or I was in the wrong.
Right.
I just didn't want to. I didn't care to discuss it. I'd rather just try and just let it go and move on. Like, we're not breaking up. We're not getting divorced. So what's the point in even hashing it out? And then as I became more, okay, darling. She said she want to get my daughter. As I became more emotionally intelligent and could effectively communicate more, I explained to her, like, when I walk away, like, I'm not never coming back, right?
Right.
I just need a moment, and I don't want to say something the wrong way or say something that I don't mean. So you were saying that you were the type that would try and force someone to have a conversation with you when they didn't necessarily.
Yes. Depending on the conversation, depending on the topic.
Okay, so what topics were like really triggering for you? That would have you chasing somebody out the door down the street, like, nah, you gonna talk to me?
Well, at the conversation that I was engaged at the time, so I was having a conversation with my fiance at the time, and I'd be like, hey, like, I don't want you doing this anymore because we're about to be married, and you're doing things that are not giving me, basically that looks toxic to me. That's good. Looks like you're gonna be a cheater doing out here doing stuff you're not supposed to be doing. So I'm like, okay, so we're together, so I don't want you doing this anymore. Basically, is what the conversation was.
But you felt like you were justified in your desires for them to stop. You just felt like you were toxic and trying to force them to talk about it. At that
Correct. It was the communication that made that toxic because you can't force somebody to talk. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm a guy, so all of my experiences are from a guy's perspective, right? And from what I've experienced, I guess it would always be that way. But I think women are more likely to try and force men to talk. Men are to try and force women to talk because I think that women have more, or we could say that men are better at suppressing or repressing their emotions. Women have a need to get it out, right?
Right.
We could just bury them and be like, nah, we good. I still love you. And I still resent you.
Girl, you trying to be on the live?
Come on the live. Take your power back. Hey, how are you? How are you? You talk? I know you talk. I just heard you talking. You just gonna get to talk.
Who is you?
What you doing? Go ahead.
She like not talking now. She wanted to be in grown people conversation. She's like, what mama talking about?
It's all okay. So what, Miss Evelyn? What toxic traits have your exes displayed?
Well, just lying, cheating, stealing. The regulars.
Dude, man.
Regular stuff.
Lying, cheating, and stealing.
The regulars. Those are all red flags. Those are all red flags.
Is lying toxic? To me, in my mind, everyone's a liar. Everybody lies. So is lying toxic?
Okay, I feel like lying is just as toxic as cheating and stealing to me. Yes.
I don't know. I don't think I disagree. I think I disagree with you there. I think everybody lies. So okay, so I don't think everybody cheats, and I don't think everyone steals, but I think everybody lies. And because everyone lies, I mean, lying is toxic, but I mean, it's a toxic.
Because I feel like lying sometimes leads to cheating, and lying sometimes leads to stealing. That's
true. That's true. But I don't know if you know this, right? I'm a cop, so to me, that's like saying it's toxic. It's saying that like weed is a drug. Like, yeah, we all know it's a drug, but if I catch you with it, it's not that like I got caught you with like
Okay, so I'll ask you this question then. Do you think it's toxic to be emotionally cheating, even though people don't consider it to be toxic?
Yes, I could agree that emotional cheating is toxic. But when I think, I've never really sat down and tried to figure out what toxic was. Right. In my mind, when I think of something that's toxic, I think more like Vicky was saying, like manipulation. Right. So if you let's say right, like Vicky was saying that she had the proof that the guy was cheating, right?
Right.
And then she shows him the proof. And he like, nah, that ain't me. To me, once he does that, I'm like, now you toxic, bro.
Well, hey, at least she wasn't getting Facebook messages talking about I'm sleeping with your husband. Videos and pictures.
Well, that makes them toxic. That makes them toxic too.
Okay, well, I've been in toxic relationships and been with toxic people. We'll just say that.
All right, that's cool. I just want to see if we can get Dr. Hawk in here and see what's see how the good doctor's feeling there. Dr. Hawk out in nature.
Hey.
We're taking a walk, Dr. Hawk.
No, I'm sitting in the backyard. It's nice today.
You sitting where?
In the backyard.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. That's good. You got your shoes on?
Yeah.
You gotta take your shoes off and put your feet on the ground.
Nah.
Why not? It's muddy.
No, it's not muddy.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Miss Evelyn, for coming on. Dr. Hawk, have you ever been toxic?
At times, I have.
Wow, we are just having like this great moment of acknowledgement of our own toxicity today. That's really good. So, Dr. Hawk, I can't imagine you being toxic.
Oh, I used to check like cell phone records and stuff like that. And in my early day, I've done a pull up here or there.
Did you ever have a pull up go like completely like left, like real bad?
No.
So you didn't get caught on the pull up. So,
no.
So you think, so in your opinion, checking cell phone records and checking up unannounced checkups are toxic?
I think so, because again, it caused me to step out of who I was. Like, that wasn't me, but it did. It just wasn't part of who I was, and it does mess with your peace, and that's what it did for me.
Okay, so let's look at it like this. Dr. Hawk thinks the guy she was dating at the time, because I know it wasn't my man, Mr. Tom. Dr. Hawk thinks at the time that her ex or her current boyfriend is doing something he shouldn't be doing. And Dr. Hawk decides to pull up to where she thinks he may be. Because you think he's doing something he shouldn't be doing, does that then make your actions not toxic? Or is it toxic regardless?
It's toxic regardless, because my purpose of going there was to try to catch. It's like one of those things where if you're looking for something, don't get mad when you find it. So that's what that was. It was toxic because that was my purpose. And
okay.
You went there on ready, like, let me see what's going to happen.
Okay. So now that you're wiser, if you found yourself in that situation again, or one of your younger friends or family members had that same situation, how would you tell them to respond or react to that?
So I tried to, because I had to learn myself. I tried not to even get there with them. I'll add my 2 cents where I wanted to, but again, it's one of those things where you can tell them all day, but until they experience and understand and learn from that mistake, I'm probably not going to even say nothing. I mean, I'll say something like, let me pull that back. So if it was my child, I would let her know, and she would know, but I wouldn't specifically say X, Y, and Z. I want her to learn from that experience on her own.
Okay, so because this is very important, and it's not every day that we get to talk to someone who has a doctorate and kids and is married and has been through some stuff. So it's important that we extract as much information out of you that we possibly can, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's set up a hypothetical. Your daughter thinks that her boyfriend is cheating.
Mm-hmm.
For a while, and you like the kid, you know what I'm saying? You like him and stuff like that. He's a good kid, but she don't really trust him right now. And she says to you, "Hey, Mom, I think so and so cheating on me, and I think he's here at this particular spot right now." You're not going to tell her to pull up at that spot.
I'm not.
Right? Okay, so how should she approach him about that? Should she say anything at all?
Yeah, absolutely.
What does that look like?
You come out and ask, because again, like I said, I used to play the game and be like, oh, and lie. Well, somebody told me they saw you here, or somebody told me, and then it's like, well, who told you that? If they was your friend, they would have said. But just, you get to a point where you be like, this is what happened, this is what was said. Now, what you gonna do? Tell me.
So just be straightforward about it.
Just be straightforward about it.
Okay, now let's go into the next step of it. Let's go into the weeds of it. Obviously, he's gonna if you have absolutely no evidence, right, or no real, you might have circumstantial evidence, but you don't have any evidence. He's gonna lie, right? So he lies.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, I wasn't there. That wasn't me. Whatever the case may be, you got the wrong guy. It wasn't me. It was the one-armed man. How did she respond?
Mm-hmm. So, and that's what that again. I try. Even me myself. You got people that will say this happened, that happened, this happened, that happened. I seen them here. I got to a point where I said, I think I need to have the hard evidence for myself before I approach with something over some he say she say stuff, or with me not like I have to have that hard evidence myself before I actually go to you and say. But I am going to say, well, this is what was told to me, and if I find out, it's going to be some consequences and repercussions.
Okay, yeah. One thing that I think is a good tip, if you genuinely like, let's say I was getting cheated on,
Mm-hmm.
right? And even though were getting cheated on, I wasn't necessarily going to leave the relationship. I wanted the truth, though, right? Like I really want to know the truth. I think I would actually just tell the person, hey, listen, this isn't something that I'm necessarily going to break up with you over or request
Mm-hmm.
over or anything like that. But I'm very unsettled in my spirit right now, and I would like to know the truth about this, right? And I say it that way because I think that people lie because they don't want to lose something. Like they think
Right.
a relationship. Now, if they're gonna lose a relationship, if you're gonna break up with them, then maybe you just go kamikaze,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna continue to work on this thing, I think even though you're the one who's hurt, you have a better chance of getting what you want by taking away their fear of the unknown,
Right.
right? And they
Yeah.
cool. So go ahead. What you about to say?
And I was about to say, because even if you let them know, like, this was brought to my attention, I think if a person really truly cares about you, they gonna move differently too, or be like, I don't want to. Maybe I should, switch up and change what I'm doing because that relationship is more important to me than XYZ.
Okay, got you. Hi, Miss Evelyn. You back?
I'm big.
Okay. Okay. So did you have something specifically to add to the topic that we didn't touch?
Did you guys touch on making excuses
No, we didn't get there yet. What you got?
for the partner or individual that you're with?
Say that again.
Making excuses for your partner or individual that you're with?
Oh, I think Vic
Mm-hmm.
touched on that a little bit. That's something that you did, or something that guys
Right.
you were with.
Mm-hmm.
Both individuals have done. Yes, making
Mm-hmm.
excuses saying that's okay, because we're together, we're just going to let that slide.
Uh, so how do we then decide what's worthy of having discourse about? Because some stuff, in my opinion, like some stuff, like I'm not about to sit here and argue with you over every little thing, right? So how do we decide which subject matters are important enough for us to actually have a conversation about, or should we have a conversation about everything we disagree with?
I think that there's some conversations you can let slide, but there's other things like you have to talk about it so you can get to the root of the problem of why you're even arguing. You know what I mean? So there's peace in the relationship, so it's not chaos.
So maybe if it's going to cause resentment. All right, Dr. Hawk. Hey, Dr. Hawk, what's for dinner? Dr. Hawk, what's for dinner? You going somewhere for dinner or you cooking?
Chesapeake Inn. We're going to Chesapeake Inn.
Well, is that seafood?
Yeah, not really. It's like traditional American food, but it's in Maryland, not far from Delaware. But that's where
okay.
we're going.
We had to catch up.
Mm-hmm. All right, y'all.
All right, we'll holler.
All right.
God bless you.
Same to you.
Oh, out. Hold on, let me see who else bring in. Who else can I get in?
Yeah, because I'm a talker. I can talk all night. Then you add somebody else in.
All right, well let me get Nikki in here. Don't leave yet though, because it makes it easier if once I have somebody in, it's easier for me to edit it later.
Oh, to add other people in. Okay.
It's easier for me to edit it for YouTube. Stop it just to me again. I can just let the whole stream just flow. So I'm hoping it. Right, I'll let you slide. We appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Nikki,
Okay, I had to swallow my food so I wasn't on being rude. Hi, how are you today?
you ain't offer us no food. That's toxic. You toxic. Coming in the room toxic.
See, I'm selfish already.
You you coming in the room toxic. See, that's what I'm talking about, man. All these, what would my man Kevin Samuels say? All these toxic modern women.
Oh my gosh, that guy.
We not gonna speak ill of the dead. You know what I'm saying?
No, no.
So, Nikki, are you toxic?
I have been.
In what ways have you been toxic?
Well, I a little bit about me so that you can understand why I was toxic. Because I'm the oldest of my mother's children, and I am the one that she raised alone while my siblings had their dad. She kind of overcompensated with me. So I grew up very catered to and spoiled, right? And so dating early on for me was very reflective of that. It was, how can this person best serve me? And then that's when they held value. They didn't hold value for what it was they actually were. Um, they just held value for what it was that they could offer me.
Okay. So you were selfish.
Extremely selfish, spoiled, self-centered, uncompromising. Um, yeah, I was rotten.
Okay. So what was the event or the events that occurred that led you to the self-awareness that you were toxic, and how did you then move forward to deal with that? Because it's still an aspect of your personality, right?
Right. Well, to some degree it is, because I think that even the things that are flaws about us help mold us if we use it right, you know. So to some aspect it is. Like I've owned a couple of businesses. I worked for myself as a hairstylist for the past 16 years, but I also owned a cleaning company, and I like to manage. We talked on before spoken before in a previous show that one of my issues that I'm still working through is micromanaging. Like that's toxic too, because essentially you're saying that you don't trust the people that are in place in your life to be able to carry through what it is that they have to do. You have to have your hand in everything. You know, whether you're meaning to say that through your actions, that's what they're saying. So I know I carry some of that. I'm still having to work through, right? But on the flip side of it, the event that molded me saying, okay, this isn't right, is I was, before I married my husband, I was engaged, and
To him or to somebody else?
somebody
Okay.
else. I was engaged to somebody else who we just fit. We got along very well. And we had like bomb chemistry. He was one of my closest friends. And I just typically dated that type of guy. Mysterious, Scorpios, over analyzers. I just gravitate to those type of people. I did before.
Hold on.
And
Scorpios. I'm triggered. What that mean?
uh, well, but no, I'm just saying that's what I used to be more drawn to. Nothing's wrong with Scorpios in general. You know, I was just saying that was what I was more drawn to. But there's a good mystery in people and bad mystery. Sometimes that bad mystery you need to take off.
I agree.
um, but for me, that last engagement, I was really going to marry someone that I loved, but I knew that I wasn't in love with. And so I I, I literally accepted that proposal on the high on those terms of him meeting the needs that I had at that moment, instead of for accepting it because he truly was valuable and I saw his value all on his own. So when I ended that engagement, I took it like a hiatus from dating. So I just dated me and worked on me for about 2 months. Not 2 months, 2 years, almost 2 years. And then everything that I had been doing to keep attracting these people that were not suited for me and to just to change up how I shopped for my person, I just did the complete opposite of, because basically everything that I was doing was wrong. Everything.
Okay.
So
So let me ask you this then, because obviously I don't have statistics, but I think that a lot of people, both men and women, um, have been willing to in the past step deeper into relationships because of what's beneficial for them, not because they love the person, right? So what advice would you give those people on actually sitting down and coming to the realization that you're a user, right? And that you really don't love this person? How do I do that?
well, for me, what was beneficial was I had to really think about my life as I'm getting older. I was getting older then. I'm even closer now. But I wanted to really weigh my pros and cons of that relationship, and how I gauged it was I going to end up being with somebody that I was tolerating, or did I really want this person? Like, I yearn for this person. Do I yearn for this person, want to make their lives better, not just have them make my life better? And if I didn't feel that, then this is a lopsided relationship and it's unfair. So then when I had to come to grips with, I like what it is that people were doing for me and adding to me, I had to try to figure out why I couldn't add those things to myself, and why I needed someone else to validate me feeling accomplished. Like, why can't I feel accomplished on my own? Did I need to be engaged to feel accomplished? Did I need to be engaged to somebody that made a certain amount of figures to feel accomplished? Like, that was like, I had to do the hard hitting work with me. And that's why I dated me, to, so that I can learn me. And then by the time that my husband came around and our paths crossed again, because we met on 3 different occasions in my life, and it was just passing, and it's, hey, not paying me no mind. He didn't pay me no mind either, you know. But on the third time, I was just like, this guy. We had regular conversation, and then it just went on for hours. And I said, I like him. Like, I like him for him. I was intrigued to learn more.
Okay, cool. I like that. So have a genuine look and assessment of yourself, who you are, why you are the way you are, and then try and figure out if I genuinely love this person, rock with this person, or if I rock with the things that I can get from them. Be honest with yourself.
You have to, because I think it's easy for us to figure out the flaws that other people bring to the table. The hard work is trying to get you together. I always want to be my best self, and that meant pulling the mask off of me. I had to pull my own mask off. Like, listen, so your mom spoiled you rotten. You think life is supposed to be served to you on a silver platter. It should come to you without having to work for it. And you need to get over that, because that's not the real world. You need to get over that real fast. So
I like that about you, Nikki. You're a straight shooter. You to the point. Arika, I got it right. I know.
Yes, you got it right. You doing it. You doing it.
I got it. And your nail lady, she stepped in the room too.
I know. I waved to her.
Yeah,
I waved to her.
Tanisha for nails. So if you somewhere close to the DMV area, make sure you holler at Tanisha_nails. Arika,
What you got for me? Am I toxic? Where I am now, no.
you have no toxicity. You don't have a toxic skin cell left in you don't have a toxic cell in your body.
I haven't been told that I had a toxic trait in my body. Not now. Not now. I like, you see me shake my head while she was talking, right? Because everything that she said is so true and valid for me, I was in a toxic relationship for majority of my life. And yes. And for the first half, it was more so just dealing with it. Didn't really entertain the toxic stuff that the person was doing to me. I never really fed into it. I just was quiet, and that was because of the way I was raised.
and like I shouldn't say the way I was raised, just the way what I saw coming up as a child. Let's say that. So I thought it was okay, right?
Okay.
And then eventually a person will get tired, right, of being talked to and mistreated. So then you feed in to it, right?
Okay.
And that what makes me toxic, because I fed into it and started doing toxic things. It was like we was mirroring each other.
So hold on. So you began to do the toxic things that he would do?
I wouldn't say all, like more so on the argumentative side of things. Yeah. Like I would be the petty person because he wanted to be petty. I'm gonna be tit for tat because he was doing tit for tat type stuff like that. For a long time, I never even cussed at this man. Never. And then again, I got tired, and then it just started coming out. And then it got to the point where, remember we was talking about on one of the first live we did, and I was talking about the beat, bitch, whatever. That word, that's when the toxicity of me really came out, because my hands would start going. And I ain't talking about like this. I mean, bop, bop. That's just me back then.
Oh, you was wrecking. Ooh, you real tight. You was real tight.
I got that, but that was the environment I was in at that time. You say something I didn't like, but I gave you forewarning, but it didn't make it right.
Hey, I'm about to knock your jaw off. I'm not toxic because I told you.
I never look. No. I never said it. I just said, look, you got one more time. 3 strikes and you out. I always say that, 3 strikes and you out. I'm gonna give you a chance to be real and honest with me. After this time, I can't promise you it's gonna be nice.
Isn't it great to have grown to a point where we can have conversations about how toxic
Beautiful
be and the things that still kind of fester within us a little bit, and like we can like kind of like laugh at it now, because in the moment, like when you're in a toxic relationship, young, and things get heated and contentious, like there's nothing funny. Nothing.
No.
Like somebody could die in the next 10 minutes, right? So it's not funny. So you think about how you end up coming through all of that, and then I don't know, you're on an Instagram live and you're talking about it, and it's like, damn, like I really did grow from that. But something I wanted to ask both of y'all while I got y'all is, both of y'all said that y'all kind of had something similar in the sense that you felt entitled. You said that too, Erika. Like, did you feel like entitled?
No, I've never felt entitled because I wasn't raised that way. I never had the sense of entitlement. But the one thing I can say that, well, I felt like being in a relationship with somebody, if I was meeting your needs, then I felt that you were supposed to meet my needs. That's the only sense of entitlement that I ever felt. That's all I ever wanted. It was no balance.
So you wanted reciprocation, right?
Yeah, right. I was going to say reciprocation. Right. Yeah.
That was about it.
So let's look into that, because Nikki, you talk about your marriage in a very good light, and I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, what's the difference between reciprocation, right, and trying to do what the other person does? Because if you think about like the love languages, right, like what's your husband's love language, Nikki?
Oh, it's touch for sure.
Okay, so his love language is physical touch. What's your love language?
I'm not even sure. I would say, I don't know. It's kindness, acts of kindness, acts of service, one of them.
Acts of service is one.
Yeah.
Okay, so you like acts of.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, like, let's say he wants you to reciprocate because he has physical touch. So that means he may come up to you, hit you on the butt, or give you a hug and stuff like that a lot. And he may want you to reciprocate that to him, but instead you reciprocate the love through acts of service, right? So how do we get on the same page to where each party can understand that I am reciprocating, right? Without you feeling like I'm not. Because if you're giving him acts of service and he wants physical touch, he may feel like yo, like you're not reciprocating. Go ahead.
And he has.
Oh, go ahead.
You got something?
I was about to say, so I've been in that situation. That's why I'm saying, like, it is because that's your love language, and that's what you like to give. It's not gonna benefit me because that's not what I need. If that makes, it's not what I need. So you're gonna have to come to we're gonna have to come to an agreement to say, look, this is what it is. Like, okay, like my acts of service is my love language was acts of service and gifts, basically. Acts of service, giving gifts, and I got like three of them was like the same. And he would get mad because he would get me something, and all I really wanted you to do is say, hey, you want me to help you like make dinner, or you want me to help, with the kids' homework, or do you want me to help you put the kids to bed? Something like that. That's all I ever really wanted. And if you was gonna get me a gift, because he was always he wanted to give me a gift, it wouldn't be nothing that I wanted. It would be something that I wouldn't even think of buying myself. And I'm the type of person that I listen. I listen to what you say you want throughout the whole year. So by the time Christmas come, I ain't got to come to you and say, hey, what you want for Christmas? Because you ain't get it that year. Something off that list I can get. So then when it comes around, no, it was always what you... Stop asking me. Like, I tell you stuff all year long. All year long. Like, oh, I like this. Oh, I want one of these. And then you come in with a Ravens hat.
Oh.
So you get what I'm saying? So it's like you have to come to a understanding. Like, look, I understand that this is your love language, and I want to give you what you need or what you want, and it got to be mutual. You can't get me what you feel like you want to get me, or do what you want to do for me, because then at this point it's not filling me.
Okay, so
well, I was gonna say for me, and my husband, we actually hit that roadblock. It's funny that you brought this up, Chills, because we hit that roadblock right around the 3rd year of marriage. They always tell you, like all the specialists tell you, like the first 5 years, like the first 2 years is good, and then the first 5 years in whole, you're learning how to merge, into the marriage. For us, that was hard because he is a touchy guy. I love that about him. But then too, with me, I just understood it differently and received it differently. Because I kind of had like a tomboyish way about me growing up and kind of carried it into adulthood. While I love touching on my husband because he's finer than all outdoors. I love touching on him. I also don't do it on the level that he needed it, but didn't do it on the level that he needed it. I was willing to make that adjustment though.
Okay.
So we made some adjustments because that's marriage is compromise, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. Yeah. So with the love languages, me and my wife, we had a conversation. I think it was earlier this year, and we kind of realized, like, oh, you're supposed to love people how they want to be loved, not how you want to love them. Now, to add to that, though, another important aspect to it, in my opinion, is when your partner is loving you in their love language, is to acknowledge that they're loving you.
Yes.
That's very important because a lot of our actions are subconscious, right? And so my love language is physical touch. My wife's is acts of service. And so if I am not attentive to her acts of service towards me, I'm missing the love that she's getting. So while we are supposed to love each other the way we want to be loved, right? Love the other person the way they want to be loved. It's very, very important that you see and acknowledge, or at least see and acknowledge to yourself, right? Every time my wife brings my plate, I'm not like, oh, thanks for the act of service, but to acknowledge, oh, she's loving me. And even though it doesn't move me per se, it's still me seeing and receiving the love that she has to give. That's very important in my...
Absolutely. And to me, that right there, that feeds my love language. The recognition, you know what I mean? The acknowledgement. I don't need to be praised like around the clock, but acknowledgement. Everybody loves that validation. I see you. I see your effort. You know, especially as working parents, when you are out the house and you get in the house, you get like 10-20 minutes to yourself when you can devote that to someone else, when that could be your time because they matter and you've made the adjustments to make sure that they get their time from you. Like, acknowledge those things. And so that's what we had to work on, because it was mad hard because I was a single mom. I had 2 girls on my own. My husband had no children. He never even dated a woman with children. So balancing being a newlywed, also being newlywed to a woman who was a single mom, who's going to she's going to have to learn how to relinquish some power. She's going to have to trust me. She's going to have to also balance parenthood and dating me while running a business. That's a lot. So acknowledgement and validation, those things are key. Everybody wants to be told by their spouse, I see you and I see your effort. I appreciate you. I appreciate your effort. Everyone.
Yeah, I like that. I like you talk, like we talked about the reciprocation, the acknowledgement. Let me ask y'all this, and I'm trying to get somebody else. I'm trying to get a guy in here too. Have you ever been in a relationship where you or the other person withheld either your love language or their love language for the purpose of punishing them? Look, Nikki.
That was me. That was me. Well, okay, so let me tell you, because I always tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth. So I heard you speak earlier, and I was like, oh my God, he about to make me run into the back of this man at this drive-thru, when you was like, so I realized that I can give people the silent treatment, and I used to do that. So for me, because my husband, I told you a while ago, like, he literally wants to do his shift with me on the phone. Babe, what you doing? Did the kids come in the house yet? Did they do their homework? Oh, what's for dinner? He want to talk about everything. And I love that we're connected. But meanwhile, I got to balance scalp. I'm standing behind somebody trying to braid a head, keep my books, cook a dinner, and it's like, babe, I got to go. If for whatever we are on rocky terms or had a disagreement, I used to hold all of this lusciousness hostage. It was my weapon. It was like, I really would. So where I had to take, like, I really had to get myself together with that. My mother, who's never been married, but one of the smartest women I know, was like, you don't get to conveniently obey your vows. You don't get to pull in and out of marriage as it pleases you in order to make your husband suffer for something you feel like he should have done better or could have done better. That's wrong. And it's controlling. It's got controlling undertones. And I was like, me controlling? Like, I hated that she even linked that together. But then I'm like, that's controlling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Yeah,
so
because if he goes out and gets it from somewhere else, he's the bad guy, and you're manipulating.
Right, then he would be the bad guy. You know what I mean? And it's like, but you're backing him in the corner, and he relies on you for all his love and his affection, and you get to play yo-yo with that. Like, that's not. So when she told me that, I was like, because my mother's like one of my husband's biggest allegiances. Like, so.
Hey, John in the streets, baby.
So, but yeah, I'm still, like I tell my husband, even when I mess up, I'm like, babe, I'm a work in progress, but take solace in knowing that I am in progress. I'm not going to sit on that. Oh, I'm still working on some things and use it as a crutch. I am actively working on some things. And I think that's what we all should do. We should all aspire to keep evolving. Our relationship is going to keep evolving. We're going to evolve individually. You know what I mean? And yeah, I got some fragmented parts that we need them things put back together. That's just the truth.
Arika, have you ever withheld someone's love language or your love language to them?
Nope, because for that very
no?
thing, no, never. I done been through some stuff. I've never initiated withholding anything from my husband. because it was always in my mind. I've always thought like this. Okay, if I'm not going to give it to him, he going to go and find it somewhere else eventually.
It's true.
And I just always thought like that. I was just having a conversation with one of my male friends at work, and we was talking about it. And I said, one thing about me, I've never withheld anything from him when it comes to love making or none, never, because it just didn't sit well with me. Because at the end of the day, you know, he's my husband. That was the vows we set. Like, no matter what he do, basically, I'm his and he's mine. Now, that doesn't say, not to say that, you know, it never, he'll get mad and withhold from me.
Okay.
But me being me, it didn't faze me, because at the end of the day, I was connected. So it wasn't, I wasn't doing that. I couldn't step out. Never. Hot. I couldn't hear you.
Can you hear?
It's like breaking up.
Hold on one second. Vic, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How you doing, bro?
All right, I can hear him.
You can't hear me? You can't hear me,
All right.
Eric?
You
We
good? I can hear you now.
We all good? Okay,
We
we all
good.
good. This was when you put the AED, the little shock joint on people. You say, I'm good, you're good, we're good, I'm clear, and then you hit the shock. Boom.
Right up.
Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here. How y'all doing today?
I'm
Good, and
I
you?
feel great.
I'm blessed.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever been toxic?
Well, after this, listening to this, hey, listen to this all day. Hey, I've been to Costco. I've been a few different places, and I was listening, holding in my earpiece and watching it the whole time, and like, man, because like you said, we don't ever really take the time to think and look at, you know, break down these words. You know, you think toxic is just fighting and I look at they slicing tires and doing that. But it's different levels to it, you know. And I say we all come from broken backgrounds. We all have trauma.
A lot of it is due to.
Sorry, yeah, somebody was trying to call. A lot of it is due to because we normalize abnormal behavior. Like when you grow up, they say, don't talk about what go on in this house, this, that, and the other. Well, there was a lot of things that should have been talked about, whether it was molestation, whether it was domestic violence. And so we're suppressing a lot of things. And then what happens is, yeah, you can go on and go to school, graduate with honors, everything else. But by you suppressing these things that you never had the adequate time to deal with, what happens is it comes out in your adulthood. And you start wondering, like, well, what's wrong? How did they change? No way they ain't changed. This is who they were that they suppressed for so long. So you have to be able to be real with yourself. And two words that I preach in my household is accountability and responsibility. You know, no, we live in an imperfect world. And for me, what I'm trying to do now is just be a better version of myself more and more. You know, not even focus on, you know, the things that I've been through. Because the thing is, what I see and I hate to see when you go up and down timelines is the battle of the sexes. Who you cook for, your man or your kids first? Who gives a hell? Do what works for your family at the end of the day. As we so busy focused on those things, those minute things, that we can't get to the real issue, the core issues of what's going on. You have to communicate, one, and then you have to be able to, on the flip side of that coin of effective and healthy communication is comprehension. I can talk to you all day, but if you're not comprehending what I'm trying to convey to you, then it's a lost cause.
See,
Mouthful.
You preaching now. You preaching,
yes,
man.
look, I'm about to type in the comments. Preach, brother. Preach.
Dropping mics.
Yes.
Well, a lot of the things that I've been through is through trial and error, you know. And my father always told me, I don't give a hell where you go, hell, jail, whatever you make, let it be on your own cognizance, not behind someone else. So a lot of mine is because I was a leader. And it's cool, you know, I learned from them. The only losses, L's when you don't learn from them. So I learned from them. And once you learn and you are accountable, then you can fix those issues.
See, I like what you're touching on too, because we don't know what we don't know about ourselves, right? We have blind spots. We all have blind spots. And the beauty of this experience of the way life is set up is that other people will tell us about ourselves, right? So
Right.
if you need help, and this is for anybody who hears this or sees this, if you need help finding out what your blind spots are, life is going to show you your blind spots. All you have to do is ask yourself is what this person that is saying to me about me true? Right?
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
on that too, when she said her mom told her she was, I don't know if it was selfish or whatever, and she controlling, and she was like, "What, me controlling?" Whenever you have a supercharged reaction to what someone says to you about you, that's how you know that's the truth, right? And then
Right.
the way in which you deal with that is the way to get to it is to admit it. Even if you want to
Yeah.
get pushback, is to be like, you know what, I am controlling. And then in your mind, for me, I write. So write out all of the ways in which I am controlling, or that I can remember moments when I have been controlling. So now I've taken my power back, right? I know that I'm
Right.
Period.
I know that being controlling, if I run a business, could be a good thing, because if I become a billionaire, I'm controlling, they're going to celebrate me regardless, right?
Right. Right.
I'm also, I've brought what was in the darkness to the light. So now when it pops up at a bad moment, I could be like, hold up, there go me being controlling. Let me reel it in. You know what I'm saying?
Because I'm gonna tell you, when you wear that hat, you really do have to learn when to take that mug off. Like when I come in the house, if I'm used to, like, now I work for myself, but I used to work in a salon under someone else in someone else's shop. And when I would come home, it was easier for me to slip into my roles because I wasn't the head at that time. But working for myself, taking that head off when you're in the house or when you're speaking to your spouse, because he is not my subordinate, he's my partner. You know what I mean? So, like, taking that off, man, you think it's as easy as it sounds. It's work. It's work. You have to learn to have a balance, especially for people who are used to like micromanaging and just being at the forefront of stuff. It is actual work. I mean, it's worthy work. He's deserving of it. I'm deserving of the relief that comes from having a partner and relieving myself of all the stuff that I would carry on my own. But it is work to get that balance.
Another thing is, because my sister will always tell me, like, "Oh, you're so controlling." I'm like, no. When she first started saying, I was like, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not." Like, and then I started noticing, like, you know what? I am controlling, but why am I controlling, right? And then when you go and you dig deep, not all the time, like, your controlling come from you running a business or just being a manager. Sometimes your controlling can stem from childhood trauma because you were so afraid of things not turning out the way they should have, right?
Right.
And then you start to rely on yourself. So you just want to do everything, like, no, do it this way because this way. And that's how I am still a little bit, but I'm still working on it. I have to learn to fall back, even when just dating, like, just the little things I can catch and pick up on for myself. And I'm like, oh no, calm down. Let this man just be. Let him. He wanted to take me on a date. I'm gonna let him take me out on a date and just relax. I don't feel like I used to feel when it came to trying to control every outcome. Like, every outcome I've had prior, I just always just try to control it. And God was like, no,
So
you're going to sit down and I'm going to deal with you. And that's what he did. Like, literally this past year, wrecked my car, right? I didn't do it. Somebody ran it. I actually T-boned somebody because they literally ran the arrow light. So they took my right away.
You always hitting people.
No. They literally turned right in front of me, Charles. Like, really, like, right in front of me in the intersection. So I was sitting, before that accident happened, I was sitting here trying to figure out a way how I'm gonna move, basically where I'm going, how I'm gonna, what type of job I'm gonna get, because I knew I couldn't stay at where I was at. I didn't want to be that. I actually sat down for like 3 months. I didn't get a job until probably like April, and I didn't have a car, so I couldn't get around. So, like, yeah, you're not gonna just be able to go and try to move. You're going to sit still and you're going to heal, and I'm going to tell you what you need to be doing right now. And that's what I did. And I had that's what kind of broke me out of trying to control every outcome. Because it was like one door would close because I forced it. Like, no, I'm going to do this, right? Because I want to do this. But then it was just like, no, you got to sit down and really do what is instructed. And that's where I'm at now. And I'm in a much better place. And I'm cool. I just fall back now. I got a little bit of controlling, only when it's around my big sister, though.
Okay.
That's about it.
Hey, Vic.
Yes.
Are you controlling?
I've been told that. And I don't know. I mean, that's a good question because inadvertently, the first thing a person thinks is, no, I'm not controlling. But hold on, who said something about a Scorpio earlier? Somebody said something about that.
I'm a Scorpio. That's what I asked.
I'm a Scorpio too.
My bad, Chels.
Scorpios, we stick together. We united.
United.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually November 21st. When is yours?
It's all good. Mine is on Sunday, November the 6th.
That's what's up. Well, happy early birthday to you too.
Happy birthday.
But I've heard it, but most of the time when you hear it, it's in relationships, so you don't know how to take that for face value or whatnot because, okay, you get on the defense. I'm a leader. It's really hard to answer that. I think I could have, and I have been in my earlier years, but as I evolved and got older, now I try to think twice now instead of what will I say? How will I say? How will it come out? And then have to take the other person's feelings into consideration because you have to understand that a person's perception is their reality. Whether you're controlling or not, how they perceive you. And a lot of times it comes from toxic relationships that's being perpetual because of the fact that we never got the actual understanding what a union was between two people. You know,
a healthy one.
Yeah, a healthy one. You know, we see these things that's depicted on TV or we try to live up to the status quo or whatnot. But is that always, you know, the thing to take in? We got to be mindful of what we feed and putting in our minds and our bodies.
See, so I'm controlling, right? So this is very important because as above, so below. So there's always an inverted aspect of anything. I'm controlling. Well, I've never liked being controlled. Like since I can remember, since I was 3, like I had the understanding of like God gave me this body, it's mine, and I could deal with the consequences and repercussions of not doing what you tell me to do, but you can't control me, right?
Right.
The problem with that is that while some people are controlling, right, and they're just naturally controlling, I can be controlling, and I've always known that I could be controlling because I saw it in other people. The problem with that is that I can be so not controlling to a point where that becomes negative for me too, meaning I may hesitate to control when I should, right? And I make this point because if you get triggered by someone calling you controlling, you don't get to get out of this thing by not being controlling. It doesn't work that way because being controlling is a gift for you. You just got to learn when to use the controlling aspect of you that's beneficial. Now, a lot of people, in my opinion, they filter whether or not they're controlling on if they feel like what they're controlling the other person to do is good for them. I call them passive tyrants or passive, right? So just because you feel like I should do this and that would be beneficial for me, and then in your mind that's good, right? You're still controlling. Just you could be a good dictator, right? But in relationships, we don't always get to dictate to other people what they should do, even though we may know that that's what's best for them, right? We can make suggestions, but it's important to realize that not all dictators are violent dictators. Not all tyrants are murderers. Some people are very passive in the way they control, and what that does is that makes them, if they know, if you're a passive dictator and you know that the person you're trying to control is going to push back, you can be really manipulative.
Right.
You find passive ways of getting them to do the things that you want them to do. Now, you know, if my dad's sick and I need him to take his medicine, then yeah, I'll be the tyrant. I'll be the passive dictator.
Right.
Right. But if we're just in a marriage or in a relationship and I think you should do this just because I think it's good for you and I try to manipulate you into it, yeah, that's still controlling, even though the outcome in my mind is good. And I think as men sometimes, men and women and leaders, we do that. And it's important to try and find that fine line between leading, controlling, and manipulating. So, Nikki, what you got?
I mean, because that just segues into this title. That's the difference between it. I mean, that's the difference between it being something effective or toxic when you're on either side of that. And that's why the balance is important. And then also I tell people, if it's you that you're doing things for, you're making changes for, then it's a worthy cause. Like, it's good to want to do it for your mate, but it's more important that you do it, make these changes for yourself. Because like the gentleman said, you want to be your best you want to show up as your best you. So if I'm making these changes so that I don't come across as passive aggressive or controlling or manipulative, then that's really best for me. Now my husband will benefit from that, but that's the work that I'm needing to do for me, for the benefit of Nikki.
Okay, yeah. So you're talking about for yourself and other people reaping.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm with you on that because I'm hardcore on yo. You're not gonna tell me what to do. Like they pick. I mean, I'm telling you, like I'm telling you. I remember my father. I'll tell y'all a quick story, right? We used to get whoopings, right? And I'm a little bit old at this point. And my uncle had just moved here from South Dakota. He was in the Air Force. My father was in the Navy. We was living on base or whatever. And the first day that they came, I guess the grass needed to be cut. Now, I never cut the grass. And I cut grass. I used to go out and cut people's grass in the neighborhood, right? But our grass hadn't been cut. And the reason I didn't cut it is because my dad liked cutting the grass. My dad, he liked that stuff. So my uncle he called me Marchello. He said, Marchello, you don't cut the grass? I said, nah. And my dad was sitting right there. I said, nah, I don't cut the grass. He liked cutting the grass. And I don't know if I came off as, you know, trying to be brolic or whatever. I didn't mean it that way. And my father, or he just got into his feelings. He was like, my dad said, you gonna cut that grass if I make you cut that grass. Now, mind you, I'm probably like 12 at this point, you know, maybe like 10 or 11, something like that. And since I've been 3, I know like this man can't make me do nothing. He can give me a whooping, but he can't make me do it. So I say to him, I said, well, I mean, technically, you can't make me cut the grass. I said, you're not gonna pick me up and put me behind the lawnmower and make me push the lawnmower. Man, the next thing I knew, that nigga had me by the shirt.
Period, because
against the wall in my pocket.
You gonna learn today.
Right.
okay.
Oh.
And like I said, we used to get whoopings. My pops ain't never just like manhandled me, Joe. He slammed me because he said, go in the house. So I was like, all right, it's cool. I go in the house. And as soon as I got to where the steps was on like the right. I was getting ready to hit the steps. I mean, he hit me like a grizzly bear. Grabbed me, boom. I was like, oh, like he ain't playing no games. You know what I'm saying? But I still ain't cut the grass, right? I still ain't cut the grass, so I still won. I'm
oh my God.
I'm analytical. So I look at it like if you could beat me physically, yeah, you could beat me physically, but I still ain't cut that grass. And that was one of those key moments in my life when I realized like your ability to articulate and stand 10 toes down on a perspective, regardless of the consequences that may come, are very important. So when you see things in the news right now and they trying to force people to apologize for something, whether that person's right or wrong, I rock with people, not on their views necessarily. I rock with people who will stand 10 toes down on their perspective and die on that cross or die on that hill or whatever the case may be, because that shows you that they've reached a foundational level of their principles.
Where they're comfortable with where they stand.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So this is a beautiful conversation. Do y'all have any
It is.
just in general that y'all want to add on? Matter of fact, let me ask you this, Vic. You ever been with a toxic woman?
It's the laugh.
I plead the fifth.
He about to say all of them.
He plead the fifth.
All of them.
Hey,
It's the laugh.
I remain silent. Who's on this line? Let me see who's watching this.
Okay.
I feel like every man been with a toxic woman at some
Now,
point.
yes, I have. And I like, once you go back and really look at it for what it is, we all are toxic to some extent, but I've been with level 1 toxicity, scratching cars up from all the way to level 5, subtle stuff. I mean, and that was my earlier years. I don't know how none of you are, but I'll be 51 in November 21st. So I had a pretty long, good stretch of going through these situations, ups, downs, and and then I look back as I reflect. Did I contribute to some of that toxicity? We have to be, once again, back to accountability. We can't just say this person was toxic and this, that, and other. What did I do or lack thereof to bring that out in them? My father used to say, "Oh, women crazy, boy. Just take the right or the wrong person to bring it out of." And
that's important, right? Let me ask you this: as a man, right? Do you think? And I don't have an opinion on this. The question just popped in my mind, right? Because a lot of times we talk about the ways in which women act and the way they react. Considering that men are typically the leaders of the household, or considered to be the leaders of the household, should it be more of our responsibility to effectively communicate to diffuse the toxicity within a relationship? Like, is that a cross that we should carry more of the weight than women?
I think so, because if we look at it from a spiritual standpoint, when God placed us the head of the household, to whom much is given, much is required. And a lot of times we are just caught up in the fact of, I say this all the time, and I tell my partners, you will never beat a woman in an emotional fight. And that's what happens a lot of times. Once you know somebody for a long time, they know what the thing to trigger you and pull you into. It's been a lot of times that, like, I can say, okay, I know we're going to have a kind of heated situation about this, but nah, Vic, you got this. You're going to go in cool. You got this. Classify G14. Go in, this, that, and the other. I'm smooth. Hey, well, we need to talk about this, and we need to, next thing you know, say something. And it's like, I'm on a level 10. Well, no, you don't. And then I look like, man, you dropped the ball. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you want to win the fight, you want the battle, or you want to win the war. And the thing is, some of these things are so minute that you don't have to. Have you ever got into a situation where you arguing and it blew up real big, and then you can't remember what even got you onto that big argument? But what it shows is that there's more underlying issues that one, if not both, are suppressing, that we have to, because no matter what we have to talk about, whether it be finances, whether it be the kids, we shy away from these and we shut down and don't want to talk. And I heard, well, every time we always into the same thing over and over. It's because it's never being rectified or resolved. We have to have those hard conversations, and it's okay to agree to disagree. Okay, guess what? I'm not made for you, you're not made for me. What we do is stay in these codependent relationships, whether it be our insecurities, whether it just be, just the trials of us getting comfortable in these messed up relationships. But we have to break the dysfunction in the urban core and break these cycles over and over. So my thing is not focusing on the problem so much. I'm an avid reader. I like to read a lot. It's self-help books because it helps me to understand me, not so about someone else. At the end of the day, I'm responsible for me. I can't control what no one else do or say, but I can control the way I respond.
And that's why my mom, she used to ingrain this into us whenever we would move, because we moved a lot. She was a single mom. So we moved around a lot whenever she took a position or got a promotion and it had to take us somewhere else. and we would just go. I think in elementary school, I went to 6 different schools in elementary during my elementary years. So we moved quite a bit. And she used to tell me when I'd be like, well, I got to make new friends. She used to say, you're going to take you everywhere you go. And that is engraved in me. So any relationship, any business venture, like just as much as I want to take the credit for the accolades that come with it, I'm going to have to take part ownership of the downfalls. I took me into that too. So I'm partly responsible. I am what is constant and what I can be accountable for in this equation.
Arika,
Yes.
I gotta let you say something before I let you go because my girl Julie Bean won't get in here. So do you have anything that
Julie.
in closing?
Well,
I
I'm
had
gonna have to leave in a minute too because I have a couple things I have to do. So she can still have that spot, and you can bring who else on or whatever.
All right, cool. So before you go, in response to what you were when I asked you the question about men and leadership, I just give y'all my opinion, right? Watching this real earlier, and Jordan Peterson was talking about how when men have disagreement, there's a certain level of, I don't know if the word is maybe respect or understanding as to how far we can take this thing. Like we can take this outside if you want to, right? And because that exists and we know that that's where it ends, right? If Vic and I are having a disagreement about something, it's certain things that I'm going to avoid saying to Vic because I don't necessarily want to fight him. We're just within a disagreement, right? And that's what men go. That's why men fight wars, because it's like, I got smoke with you, you got smoke with me. We try to talk it out, it didn't work, so I'm gonna blow up your country, right? Well, I think that men should hold at least 51% of the responsibility for at least diffusing the toxicity, because typically men are stronger than women. So if it comes to the point where we're actually getting ready to physically fight, a man's probably going to be the woman, right? And because of that, because he's the, like, what did it say? With great power comes great responsibility. You won the physical power genetic lottery by being born a man. Typically, the woman that you're with can't beat you, right? And since typically can't beat you, and that's where conflict climaxes, you have to be the one to be like, okay, I know how far this thing could go, even if it's just her hitting me, right?
Right.
I have to be I'm the one that's in the position of power from a physical standpoint. It would behoove me to be the one to diffuse this thing. But I think that women, because they're better with understanding emotions and expressing emotions verbally, once they learn us, they know what to say, right? They know how to buttons. They're like, I'm gonna press this nigga buttons until he responds.
Okay.
I ain't gonna hit you, right? But still, I still think the responsibility is on me or you as a man to be like, okay, worst case scenario, I'm gonna just walk away and come back to this thing later. That's just my opinion.
Right. Well, I want to say also that, when you with someone, and even though God has placed us as the head of the household, that doesn't make that man a perfect person. So the thing is, like I was telling my daughter today, we all have to deal with, as we grow, to deal with times change, people change, feelings change, and it's hard enough to just be accountable for yourself. But when you're with someone else, now you have somebody else feelings that you have to take into consideration. And we don't do that. Selfishly, by nature, a lot of times we get irritated and we quick to block out this person and all that. But back to what I was saying about, we're imperfect people just trying to be better. And I feel like a lot of times where women will push us because you the head of the household, they know how to use that, don't they? Oh, you supposed to be the leader. I ain't gonna lead you. You don't know where we going. But at the end of the day, if your man is not where he needs to be, then pray for him. See, women don't understand that life and death is in the power of your tongue. If you speak a little encouragement into a man, how far that would take him, boost his self-esteem. Like the man feel like he can go over and take over the world. But when you talk to him condescendingly, like, you his mama and this, that, and the other, you start noticing when he come home from work and his car just sitting out there and he's sitting in the car, he ain't came in there for a minute.
That was me. That was me.
What it say in the Bible? A man would rather go sit on the roof than live with on the corner of a roof than to be with a contentious woman. And we have to be, you know, I don't know if you ever read that book, The Five Love Languages, and if you do the assessment on that, it tells a lot. We all carry all the characteristics and traits, but some of them are just higher in each of us. And mine were gifts, affirmation, touch. And these things are imperative. Once you know these things about your mate, we're supposed to cater to one another. Like, you know, we don't use these things in the things that you share, intimate moments, to turn around and use them. And that's what happens a lot of time. In war, hey, you don't care. Oh, that's why your mama dropped you off at the bus stop back then and left you. And, you know, you don't do that, man. We have to learn how to be able to build each other up as kings and queens the way we were designed. Now, white man's ploy has always been to divide and conquer. If I can keep them at odds, we win. You know, even just like as far as back slavery days and the new Jim Crow, what was the thing when women got all these subsidies, WIC, Section 8, all this stuff? They gave them the illusion that they were doing it on their own, but they was getting this from someone else. But what was the number one requirement for all that? Keep the man out of the house. So put them on child support, and that caused division there. And as long as they kept us at odds like that, they were winning. So we have to, not to get off topic or whatnot, but man, I could talk all day too and go on. But I love these conversations, man, and I follow all. Excuse me.
I said that's a great topic.
No, I was just saying I followed all of you guys, so hope y'all follow me back. And when y'all have these topics of discussion or whatever the case, man, or whatever, and I'll chime in, and you know, because I believe that's where it starts. If we can come together collectively, agree to disagree, and have healthy conversations, not nobody male bashing or woman bashing and all that. It ain't about, it's about finding the solution. That's it, and that's what I'm for.
Hey, real quick before you roll, I like that you hit on the welfare state and the fact that it allowed women to think that they were doing it on their own when they weren't. Because that brought a lot of toxicity too, which was the I don't need no man.
Need a man.
One of the most toxic things. And I don't really get into. I'm open to dialogue about anything, but I don't really get into the race aspects of relationships and conversations because people just never really bring them up.
Right.
But there's no other race in America where the woman says, I don't need no man. You don't hear white women saying it. You don't hear Asians.
You don't hear the Asians, Indians,
Native Americans, the Eskimos, the deer. None of them are running around saying they don't need the male aspect of their race. And somehow we got tricked into that. And that's toxic.
But you see, look at all the things that we have, whether it's from the music, about catching bodies. We'll rap about how many people we'll kill and all this kind of stuff. And it's accepted. You know, these labels making millions and millions of dollars off of, you know, our culture. And what are we talking about? Non-substance stuff, about killing each other, cars, clothes, brands. Look at the TV shows, Real Housewives of Atlanta. It's all toxic stuff, the way they depict us, you know. And we grasp it, we laugh, and I got to tune in today. You see what such and such did, what Stevie J did, and all that kind of stuff. We have to be mindful of the things that, okay, I get it. Part of it's entertainment, but it's not really reality, because once you know you on a show, you're acting a certain way. It's scripted, you know, so it's how much reality is it, you know? So, but we have to be able to be mindful, and it starts within our households, what we teach our children. You can't leave it. Our kids they have more influence on the outside of their homes than they do, because that's where more of their time is going to be spent, you know, peers and friends and all that. But it starts as a parent in your household, raising them, showing them, guiding them, and not just talking about it, but leading by example. So we have a long ways to go, but we can start somewhere and right now. And that's just bringing each other as brothers and sisters together and talking about these sensitive issues and topics that we need, that should have been discussed a long time ago. And then when we get off of, hey, I might not agree with you, but I understand, and hey, I love you, sister, I love you, brother. Not, oh yeah, he thought he was all this, he was this, that, and the other. You know, I'm gonna tell you one thing about Kevin Samuels. He was winning a lot with stats and things that he could. What I hated about Kevin Samuels was he was getting petty with it. When you start talking condescending and calling out names and all this kind of stuff. Stick to the script. You know, if you're trying to help people to have better relationships, you got to be mindful, you know, and look at it from both ends of the spectrum. Now, I get it. He was pro for men because a lot of times women do a lot of male bashing and it's accepted. But as soon as a man says something about a woman, now look at him, this, that, and the other. But we have to be fair across the board. We have to be equal and be real with ourselves. If you want to sit up here and really have a healthy relationship, we gotta purge ourselves of all that stuff that we were taught and brought up to believe back then. And until you can be able to do that, and like you said, stand on your own too, because with me, I'm passionate about a lot of things, everything. I talk to people on a daily, and it was misconstrued with you're aggressive and this, that, and the other. And, you know, I have a therapist that I see every couple of weeks. So when her and I are talking, you know, and I was telling her some things that I wanted to change, I said, well, I'm animated. When I get into myself, I kind of get up, I elevate, and it comes off as aggressive. And I don't want to. The thing is, it's just I'm a passionate person. I wouldn't even be sitting here talking if I didn't, not talking about right here, but I'm just saying whoever I'm talking to going through those kind of, you know, hoops if I wasn't passionate about it. I love my people as a whole, but we have to quit false labeling a lot of things. I'm going to tell you something. I said, what I've been hearing a lot lately now is is these girls got some kind of meeting going on? Because what I've been hearing lately, and I know about 6 or 7 of my partners that's going through relationship issues, and oh man, she called me a narcissist. She called me an abuser. And I'm hearing it so much more. I know the word's been out there, but now I'm hearing it so much more now. Like, really? And they said since that pandemic happened that everything that, you know, like I said, people that had any kind of mental illnesses, deficiencies, that exacerbated it 10 times over. But we have to start getting the adequate help that we have, because in the Black community, when we talk about getting help for our mental health, we associate that with being crazy. So we deflect from it, and we'd rather choose to project that onto someone else. We look out that picture window and point that finger instead of stepping a couple feet over and looking into that mirror and looking at ourselves. So we have to do that. But I ain't gonna take up all the time.
That's
but
a
man,
whole other topic.
Listen.
We could do that. We could do that with next week. So we could do that with next week. I'm gonna follow you back.
Me too.
Me too.
For anybody who watches the show, comes on the show, comments on the show, has heard about the show, if you have a topic idea you want to hit on, send it to my DM, and I'll make sure we hit on it.
I gotta remind you of the other one we was supposed to be
manifestation.
Yeah,
I got that on my list. I was waiting for you to let me know.
All right.
Do it. But Vic, I'm gonna let you slide off. I'm gonna get my girl Julie here. I appreciate you, brother. You welcome on the show anytime. And as soon as I'm done with this, I'm gonna follow you back.
All right, thank you. Y'all have a blessed
nice
day.
All right, take care of it.
King. Let's see. Let's get Julie Bean in here. I wonder is Dr. J coming in here today. Let's see. Dr. J in here. Let's get Julie in.
I think I saw Dr.
I
J.
did see her. She did pop in.
Let's see. Let's see if we can get Julie Bean in here. Julie Bean.
Hi.
Where you at?
Hey, Julie.
Hi, guys.
Where you at?
How are you?
Good and you.
I'm doing so much better.
Where
You
you at?
have
The
no
grocery
idea.
shop?
No, I am getting a slice of pizza.
Oh, that's nice.
I'm so excited to
Okay.
eat a slice of pizza.
Okay, I had pizza earlier too. I had freschetta brick oven with the meat and 3 cheeses and all of that. I mean, three meat, cheese and all that. But I'm not nice your hair, Julie B.
Yeah.
That's a cute bob, Julie.
I'm back, guys. I'm back.
All right, cool. So, Julie B,
Yes.
have you ever been toxic?
Yep.
What ways have you been toxic?
I used to pick fights. So in my last relationship, or in all my relationships, I've never run from an argument. So
You run to war?
I'm going. If you gotta go to war, just call me. Because I'm the
It
one
don't even
that's
seem
going.
like that would be you.
And I recall my ex used to hate confrontation, and I knew that, and I would like force it, like, well, where are you going? Well, you can't go nowhere, we live in the same house. Like, we need to deal with this now. And I realized people are different. They receive information differently, and sometimes you gotta let that person get to a state where they can have a discussion, and you can't force a discussion down people's throat. So now I've learned to just keep my mouth shut, and when people are ready, I'm here for it.
Okay, let me ask y'all this. Whoever wants to answer, because I hear a lot of women talk about that. The need to have the argument right now. Why do we have to have this argument?
Me
Confrontation.
personally,
Why do we have to have it right now?
I didn't like confrontation, so I can't. I was the runner. And it used to be forced on me. So I would sit there like this, and I'm like, "Can we have this conversation tomorrow?" Wouldn't say anything, and he'll just keep coming. Like she said, she was running, he would run towards me. So then by this time, I got frustrated. Then once I get to that point, I just explode, and I got a mouth that you just don't want to hear at that point. And after that, it's just on and popping. Now I ain't running from nowhere. I want to deal with it right then and there. And yeah, we ain't gonna stop.
Okay. So Nikki, did you say you've been the type to be like, no, we gotta have this conversation right now?
No, I'm the opposite. So you know what I'm learning from your live chills? I'm weird, I think.
I wouldn't say that. I just think so. This is very important to delineate too, right? We talk about like men and women and masculine and feminine a lot, but there are all of us have a masculine side and a feminine side.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll put it to you like this: as a man, you won't hear most men talk about them having any feminine traits or any feminine aspects. But if you
Most men won't admit it, right?
right, you have the whole thing. And just because you say most women are the type that are like Julie, that will, chain you to the bed and make you have the conversation, right? That doesn't mean that there aren't men out there who will do it. And just because most men are the type that'll walk away from the argument doesn't mean you won't find women out there who are like, nah, cause I don't really want to do this.
Yeah, like even in my marriage, like, and when we have our arguments, it's dumb stuff. I feel embarrassed to even discuss the things we fuss about. It's so stupid. Like, can you not climb into the mirror when you brush your teeth and splatter toothpaste all in my mirror? Can you wipe my mirror? Can you put this seat down? Those are the arguments we have, right? But the thing about it is that I'm that person that if I see that you are even at 5, I'm not talking about this with you right now. And so that has been an issue because my husband he's very much a let's tackle the issues head on type of person. He don't want to take a beat, and sometimes a beat is needed. Now he's finally admitting that now that a beat is needed at times, because if we both are getting to the point where we're elevated, this is not the time to talk about it. Now, I wasn't always, it's not always that way. Sometimes I'm at fault because, like, y'all know I'm a sports head. So if we just had an issue or an argument earlier that day, and you wait until Sunday at 1 o'clock when my game is on to discuss this issue, you gonna create a new issue, bruh. I'm watching the game. So, yeah, so that's how so that's where I mess up with it, because I'll merge those from I'd rather not talk about it while we're riled up to it gets tabled and sometimes not addressed. I think y'all was speaking on that earlier. I think that's the concern. The consensus is like, okay, well, if we don't talk about it right now, will we come back to it to discuss it? So
Okay.
I guess I'm on this side.
Real quick, Julie, before you go, Lil says it comes off as being dismissive of the fact that the other person is hurt or upset. So since Julie
Yeah.
is our resident warrior, why
So,
is it?
so can I tell you?
Yeah, go ahead, please do.
I used to take the beatings. Like I used to keep my mouth shut. I didn't want to argue. I didn't want to make people upset. Like that's how I used to be. And then I realized, okay, so a month will go by and I'm still mad because you showed up 3 hours late to whatever. And I didn't say nothing because I'm like, you know, whatever. I always made excuses. That was my thing. I always made excuses for other people. And then now you 10 minutes late. And now I'm like, now you 3 hours and 10 minutes late. And they're like, what are you talking about? Well, I'm still mad from the last time because I never said anything. So I'm just adding it up. So now I'm like, I need to speak on it when it's happening. And I learned that once you repeat yourself so many times, that's just the wrong person.
That part.
Right? Once you speak on something so many times and you learn to change your tone and you learn to watch their emotions and all that stuff, but you're still repeating the same thing, now it's just disrespect and them being dismissive of what you're trying to express to them.
Okay. So I know, like I was saying earlier in the live, like I would be like, it didn't matter to me who was right or wrong. Like it could be obvious that I was wrong, or it could be obvious that my wife was wrong, and we all like that wasn't up for debate, and I would still be like, I don't want to talk about it. And the reason she would try and force me to have the conversation is because she knew, oh, we were not circling back around to this thing. I was just gonna ride this treatment thing out until she got so hungry to the point where the only thing she wanted to do was eat and let it go. And I was being toxic. I admit it. We've all admitted to our toxicities here today. I was being toxic. And so, but I will tell you, and I said this earlier, just to reiterate, one of the main things that helps someone who is a runner be able to have the conversation when the talker wants to have it is having an understanding that this is not something that's going to end our relationship, and it's something that I would actually like for us to, at the end of this thing, be good. Because if I'm a runner and I think that this is going to just end it all, or this is going to end really bad, then to me, running is a better option.
Yeah.
If it's going to end a fist fight, right, or it's going to end up in us not being together, then at least if I run, I don't have to deal with the most contentious aspect of this disagreement. But if I know that that's not coming, I feel a lot more comfortable in having the conversation. So even though I may be uncomfortable, it's easier for me to communicate through the discomfort because the worst case scenario is off the table.
Right. But then what I was running because I already knew, like you said, if you already know like the end of the relationship, you know, was not an option, then you can go ahead and handle, you know, whatever the discussion is. But for me, I already knew in my head that I was done on a mental level. So I didn't really want to have it because I knew once I had that conversation that it would have been all right.
But see,
that's what eventually happened. That's what eventually happened. Like, it was just one of them days he came in, was just like, yeah, such and such, such and such, you don't make me happy. I said, oh, really? Well, go find a woman to do, because I'm not her and she's not me. And I'm woman enough to say it. And that's what it went to. If you're not happy, that's fine. But at the same time, like, you got to face the problem. And like she said, a lot of times, like, you're repeating yourself and it's not getting resolved, then that is not the person for you. And to be in something for 20 years, knowing that this person is not for you, but you just keep trying, it's just like, all right, yo, whatever.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. Like, why? I don't know how to deal with people that run. Well, I'm learning to deal with people that run. But at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, how far are you going to run? Because when you come back, I'm going to be right here with my mask and waiting.
But see, that's what I'm saying, though, Julie. I understand that because you're ready to have the argument, the discussion, or whatever. What I'm saying is if you found yourself in that position again, you know whether, or let's say you're mad at this person. Let's make it a simple thing. The guy did something and you have an issue, and he wants to run and you want to talk. And if he's going to run, you can allow him to run. But as he's getting ready to run, you can also tell him, like, hey, listen, This isn't something we're gonna break up over. We're not gonna be mad at each other forever about this. And I understand that you need your space. And you know when you once you come back, I'm going to want to have the conversation. But the main thing I want you to know is that I still believe in you. I still love you. We just have a disagreement about this particular thing, and we have to work it out. Now, if that person is self-aware in any way, shape, or fashion, and has enough trust in you to believe that you're not trying to trick them and then break up with them or whatever the case may be, they should, in theory, be willing to have the conversation either right then and there or at some point in the near future. You know what I'm saying?
In my experience, he ran because he thought that the gap, the space and time was going to solve the issues. That was my experience. And I'm like, so you're just going to let me cool off for a couple of days and we're going to act like nothing is wrong. That's not, sorry. That's not a solution. Like, even, like, I just see it as this, like, if you on a job, right? Does your boss or whoever is training you or teaching you, do they let you continue to make these mistakes? Or do they say, look, let's have a conversation so we can adjust whatever is happening and make the situation better? They don't let you, like, if I was messing up, I wouldn't want whoever my partner is to just let me keep messing up. I want you to bring it to my attention so we could address it and make a choice. Like, okay, either I improve or this ain't for me.
And some men don't want to hear that they are not meeting your needs as well.
Not meeting your needs?
Like, not.
But we're human.
Like, they don't like feeling like they're incompetent, I should say.
Incompetent in what area?
Whatever it is that she is not getting. Or avoiding and not dealing with the issue, or again not meeting her needs as a woman, on whatever topic that it may be for her.
Right.
They might feel inadequate, I guess. So they run.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean that to me that the ideology still applies though. So like, let's say Julie feels like her guy isn't meeting her desires in some way, shape, or fashion, right? And Julie knows that her guy is the runner. I mean, as much as Julie may feel like it's his responsibility, Julie is the one who has an issue. So it's beneficial for Julie to create some pillow, mattress, or safe space for him to be able to walk into this, because he's the one who's going to be, quote unquote, under fire, right? So if he's not meeting what Julie wants, it helps for Julie to say, hey, listen, I have issues about this, and that. And it doesn't mean that I don't love you. It doesn't mean that I'm trying to leave you. But it does mean that I would like for us to sit down and have a conversation. And you could even tell me about things about myself that you're probably not telling me. And in that way, we have an open dialogue and open discussion, as opposed to the guy or whoever it is, because it could work the other way too, feeling like I'm just about to be under attack. I'm going to take all the punches, all the rockets, all the missiles. And then at the end, I'm just going to be like, okay, we'll do what you want to do. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't think that's healthy at all. And I went through that for so many years until I was like, okay, I got to figure out a way to better communicate with this person. But I also learned the other person has got to want to better communicate. Because if you've been running all your life and that's all you know, and you're surrounded by people who never disagree with you, in your mind, who's wrong and who's crazy?
All right, Nikki, we appreciate you.
So, but I learned my lesson, and now my question when I go out on a date is, how do you handle sticky situation, confrontation?
I don't want to say confrontation though.
Or uncomfortable
situations. Yeah.
Situations.
Okay.
Because if he can't talk through it, man,
I can't deal with it. Same. And then mine is like she like on the same thing, like communication. Okay, everybody can talk, but are you going to comprehend what I'm saying? Because a lot of times that will be our problem. Is I'm saying one thing, but when he says what I'm saying is something totally different.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, are you not comprehending what I'm saying? I wish I could give you an example, but that right there is just like,
Well,
that can drive you crazy.
I mean, the way,
It's like you're speaking two different languages.
Right.
yeah, the way I see that is too is all we can do is improve our ability to communicate, right? And the more I improve my ability to communicate, typically the other person or people in general understand me better. I haven't always been able to be able to do a show like I do every day in and day out, and effectively communicate. I had to read books on communication. I had to practice. I had to do it at the job. I had to go out and put it into practice into the world. And now I could come on here and I can have difficult conversations, uncomfortable conversations. I can admit to, my shortcomings. But that takes the self-work. And something that's very important for people to realize is just because I improve myself, whether that's mentally, physically, spiritually, or emotionally, doesn't always mean I'm going to get the outcome that I want. If I can go into this conversation, this contentious dialogue, knowing that I did it authentically and with grace and articulate as I possibly could, which is better than I would have last year, then I have to be okay with the fact that I did that. And if this person doesn't reciprocate that, that could just be their receiver. I know for a fact I'm better than I was a year ago. So if
Right.
you can't receive it, maybe it's not me. Maybe it's you this time, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay.
So one thing that I will say before I go is, since my breakup last year, I went through like all the stages, and then I met Chels, who really has broken things down for me to the point where I'm like learning more about myself, and I realized the more emotionally intelligent I become, the easier it is for people who don't understand what I'm saying to disappear.
Right.
And
That part.
now those voids are being filled with people who are understanding where my mental is at this point. And that's why I realized I kept saying, okay, I did this wrong, I did that wrong. I'm like, no, I am growing. Person X is not. And that's why there's a glitch in the communication.
Mm.
And that's okay.
Right.
That's okay, because the more I grow, the more distant that relationship becomes.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm creating the space for where I'm at now for someone to meet me where I am.
Yeah. Right.
Mm.
That's
Arika, you got
yes.
anything in closing?
Not really,
It's okay. You don't have to.
but it's just um we as women have to grow on an emotional aspect of things, because a lot of us tend to go in with emotions, and we need to have like a balance between emotions and logic, I feel like. And that's where that's the direction I'm going in when it comes to me having conversations with conversing with people. Because a lot of times I hear what they're saying and then I internalize it sometimes. And then I gotta realize, like, okay, not to internalize it, because, not everything someone says about you or to you don't always have to do with you. Sometimes it's just them, the person. And I used to go back and forth with an ex regarding, my 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 skills as a wife and as a mother. I don't know where he got these ideas from, but if I didn't have good people in my corner, like friends and family, to reiterate to me that to not have a physical, your biological mother literally training you and being there for you in the way I am there for my children, and I've always been there for my children, you can't discredit me for that. You can't.
Right.
Because I have so for women not to internalize what someone is saying about you, and men, both, it don't gotta just be about women, and just be, and accept you for where you are, and don't be in denial, and do some self work, like some self healing work.
Okay, cool. I love all of that. Julie, do you have anything in closing other than the pizza tastes good and you got your little Bob thing?
I just appreciate it. I really appreciate that people come on here and they're transparent and they're honest. I feel like we are fighting the war against the opposite spectrum of what social media creates.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in closing, I will say this. I realize I better understand toxicity now. Toxic traits are something that we all have. It's very important that we notice them within ourselves. The more you notice toxic traits within yourself, the easier it will be to detect them in other people.
Yeah.
The more you can acknowledge your own toxic traits and the way you would like to be treated when you're being toxic will tell you how other people the way they would probably be treated, would rather be treated when they're toxic. So, like most topics on my show, it tells you to use yourself as a gauge, as a reflective gauge, and use society as a mirror so that you can better see yourself. And in doing so, that can help you take your power back. So that's what we're all doing here. We talk about things that go on in the outside world, what they mean to the inside world, and how we can better assess and respond to those things. So all we're doing here is taking our power back. We've been on here for longer than 2 hours. So to everybody that came on, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Julie, I like your hair. Appreciate you.
It's cute.
For making it in. Dr. J didn't get in here today, so she first up on Monday. If you need a good life coach, Julie Bean can tell you I'm your guy. Be good, be safe, be blessed. Hug your kids, your wives, your husbands, your sisters, your brothers. Take your power back. Peace.
Peace.